Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another match of Beyond All Reason here at the Brightworks. Today, we're taking another look at a game that was not exactly an 8v8, but instead a 6 versus 6. I've been really addicted to the format. As fun as 8 versus 8 is, it's kind of interesting when you lower that player count. People start to make some really interesting moves. So today, spawning on the northern side and representing the Cortex team, the red team, pardon me, as a Cortex commander goes by the name of Narnox, starting up those metal extractors here in the early game. Gonna go into some of those solar panels here on a map that goes by the name of Whitefire Remake 1.3 over here. Contested, of course, by the blue team leader, goes by the name of Lost Dead Man, fellow YouTube man, Lost Dead Man, or a Twitch streamer, I can't remember exactly. I know they make bar content, and that's good enough for me, a friend of mine, to say the very least. Gonna be going for Cortex as well here, representing the blue team. Coming in at 44 true skill and silver chevrons all the way through. Definitely going to have some good stuff for us today. We also have Barcast in the room with us today. Yeah, Barcast TV over here in the green on the left-hand side on the front lines. Should be some good old-fashioned fun. Whitefire Remake features a fairly simple map layout in the terms that the lines are essentially drawn. The only complications are these little high grounds right here where usually we either see a player spawn that goes air dedicatedly, or sometimes we see them go for cheeky builds, like they'll transport their commander forwards, go for something sneaky-beaky out in the middle of the map, something strange, right? So the fact that we have 6 people actually means that some of the players here are going to be pulling double duty. For instance, I think Flocka has quite an opportunity in the backline, especially as an air player. You get double the economy, essentially. It means we should expect to see some very nice bombing runs. I believe that goes double here. Yeah, Reed Sweet is also going to be playing air here. Cortex air, mind you, so well, I expect to see those shurikens and probably some of those super powerful bombers, those T1 bombers, the whirlwinds, coming out of the yellow commander's main base as well. Across the other rest of the way here, we do have a couple of transports being handed out, so that's always nice to see. Those transports can be extremely useful, especially on big maps like this. Whitefire Remake, not the biggest of maps, mind you, but certainly when you're not playing 8v8, the maps suddenly get a whole lot bigger. The question I have is who's going to claim all this metal first? Obviously, claiming a whole bunch of these expanded metal spots over here is going to be very valuable to each and every one of these commanders. Akumu going for a constructor here, and then eventually into some of these metal extractor spots. When you're going vehicles, as we all know, the vehicles take quite a lot of metal in order to produce, a lot more than bots, so you really have to be aggressive with that expansion. You can see Vocio, Vocio? We'll go with Vocio, the Maroon Commander here, 25 true skill. Definitely an upper echelon's lobby here. Looking well experienced, especially, I mean, the numbers aren't the highest on the bottoms of the leaderboards here, but certainly the indicators of experience over on the left side definitely showing us that everybody should be well aware of what they're going for. And Vocio? I don't know. Our Maroon Commander here definitely stepping forward here, trying to claim some of these metal extractors to fund that expensive army. We do have vehicles out for, not for Barcast. For some reason I thought Barcast had vehicles out, but actually going to be playing with some of those Cortex bots. I love to see it. I'm a big fan of bots. I feel like, just thematically speaking, they're really beautiful. We do have a bomber headed across, but the scout plane was either destroyed or non-existent, so either way this bomber is going to be, well, targeting the right area there. Must have been a lovely pre-scout right there by the yellow commander, and yeah, that was a beautiful bombing run. Takes out 6 of those wind turbines as well as the metal extractor there. Very, very efficient for this bomber that costs 150 metal versus that metal extractor, which itself costs 50 metal. You've almost recouped your damages just from the metal extractor alone, but also those wind turbines as well. Very nicely done. Love to see some early aggression from the air players. It's oftentimes a little underwhelming what the air players can do in the early game, so it's good to see that Reed Sweet is up and well, very proactive about getting those aggressive units across the map over here. Bomber will eventually be shot down by the fighters. I would say, irregardless, it's still managed to get quite enough value out, so no worries there. Hemorrhoid continuing to push forward over here, trying to be a pain in the rears of the red team here. Jokes aside, I think the Seafoam Green Commander has a lovely position here. Yeah, I bet if we lock all this down, I mean, if we can really secure this midsection right here and make sure that all these metal extractors, these 4 in particular, stay under blue control, I think that's going to be a huge advantage for the blue team. Not only the metal coming in, obviously, but also the fact that there's going to be tons and tons of positions to assault from. Oh, looks like the blue team just lost somebody. It would appear. Alrighty. Guess Barcast TV going to be pulling double duty, at least for the time being. Yeah. Casio Imperator has left the game, apparently. What a bummer. What a bummer. El Barto going to be holding on the left-hand side here. The commander up against the Maroon Commander. Yeah, that LT is going to have more than enough health there. This is great. You know what? This is something that I think I recognize as Barcast's being very comfortable in the 1v1 situations. Barcast definitely very highly acclaimed for the 1v1, you know, field of Beyond All Reason. Definitely an area I'm a little less experienced in, but one of those things is that in the 1v1 games, grunt micro becomes extremely important. So this is always great to see, using the grunts aggressively rather than just building them up in a big line on the front. I think it makes a lot of sense because the lines shift and change so much because there's less people on here. Sending these grunts forward to try and see what damage you can do really makes a lot of sense. And sniping those metal extractors, super annoying, means that those commanders are going to have to either step backwards to claim all those or have to send a constructor forwards, either one of which is going to take up their valuable time and resources. More grunts coming across over here, but these ones are caught like fish in a barrel. Narnak's commander stepping forward here. Actually, no energy, though. Might have been trouble if those grunts had jumped on top of Narnak's commander there. I don't think they could have killed it, but they certainly could have brought it pretty low. There are reinforcements, though, eventually going to be coming up here for the red commander, so all will be stable. For the time being, though, denying these metal extractors up on front, it's great, but capturing them is even better. So I love to see this constructor up here for Barcast TV, continuing to claim all this ground over here. Barcast actually inheriting a fabulous economy here. Yeah, now claiming, gosh, a third of the map here, or at least a third of the blue side of the map. This is suddenly going to fall directly into the hands of our green commander. We'll have to see what he can do. Shuriken up in the air, we'll have to see it. If you're going Cortex and you're going air, pretty much expected to go for some of those Shuriken. It's a nice fight right here for Barcast. Just more units, though. More stuff beats less stuff, as the age-old adage goes. And just like that, those red grunts do manage to storm through the forces right there of the blue and the green commander. Would love to see some resbots headed over there, of course, but a lot of the resbots right now are tied up eating up some of those fir trees in the background, trying to convert their useless organic matter into precious biosteel and energy and all that sort of good stuff. The flesh is weak and all that. Grunt control, looking fabulous here. I expect virtually nothing else here right now, especially from the red commander who has, well, basically nothing else to micro. So when you've got a high skill player and all they have to do is micro a bunch of grunts around, I'd pretty much expect those to be micro to the very highest level. Shuriken here making these fights so much better for the red player, though. Yeah, what otherwise would be a fairly uneven fight tipped in the favors of the red commander here. Barcast with a fabulous economy can just continue producing the units, but Narnak has to take the efficient trades, so I love to see that we're working together with Retweet to try and take those trades in a more efficient style here, i.e. waiting for the Shuriken to paralyze a bunch of those and then eventually jumping on top of them while they are defenseless. Resbots right here are going to eat up a lot of this. I'd actually like to see these rezzed. I know it sounds a little weird to res grunts, but it would be kind of nice to have a massive army on the front right here, hand it all over to Narnak, and I think that army could spiral a little bit out of control here, especially up against Hemorrhoid, as well as these two constructors setting up an LLT line right here for Barcast. Barto going up against 2 versus 1, My Booty a Beauty, as well as Avoshio, both going to be pushing against the Cyan commander over here. Going to be a race against the clock to get T2 up and running right here. If there's one commander I think has a prime opportunity to go T2, I think it would actually be Barcast, because of the fact that obviously he inherited such a fabulous economy, having 2 commanders handed over, two commanders worth of economy anyways handed over. I think definitely it could work to go for a greedy T2. Yeah, metal in the bank right now is pretty high. Always tricky. Always tricky. When you inherit a big base like this from taking over another commander, it means you inherit all their woes, but also all of their ecos. And keeping that under control can definitely be hard. Microing which units are being produced where on the map can be very difficult. Oh, a little bit of a pause jump right there. Sorry about that. I've been seeing those more and more in games recently. Hopefully that doesn't become a common bug here. Anywho, Hemorrhoid's Rocketeers going up against the forces of Narnak. Sounds like the Battle of Helm's Deep. Not really. I do like to see, though, that we're building a construction tower here, at the very least to try and keep some of these Rocketeers alive. Pawns do jump on top of this. Actually, a great pull right there. Yeah, the Pawns jump on top of the Aggravators. Really nicely done. We need to kill those Resbots. Toronto. Yep, Resbots being targeted down right here. Nicely done. Resbots do go down, removing a lot of the sustain from the red army right now, forcing these grunts to be pulled back over onto the right-hand side, relieving some of the pressure that was being felt up on this hillside right here by Barcast. We do have Resbots, by the way, continuing to patch all this stuff up as well. Very nicely done. Some great control by the blue team. I would say this map is just about even split here, with the red team having just a little bit of an advantage over here in the metal spots right here. These typically should be contested, if not at the very least claimed by the blue, and then, you know, maybe this one and this one fought over, but red team has secured those quite firmly here. Weird compositions moving forward. It's just missile trucks, and you guessed it, a couple more missile trucks, all of which are more than happy to fire away those long-distance heat-seeking rockets. Not sure how effective they're going to be against the medium tanks, but the medium tanks are going to be quite effective against the medium tanks. There they go. Blasting through. I almost said blitzing through, but I have to avoid that word like the plague. Commander goes down over here on the right-hand side. That's going to be Lost Deadman losing his commander over here, and that hurts. Yeah, crop rotation going to be eager to eat up all that metal right there, turning it into more and more units, more and more economy. We can see those solar panels coming up in the backline right here. Tan Commander's economy suddenly skyrocketing, and feeling all that metal is going to get overflown to the team right here, meaning that the blue team just lost out on quite a hefty sum of metal. Hemorrhoid getting jumped on over here as well. Yeah, it's a little risky, but the static defense is sturdy. We do have a beamer turret as well as a couple of those, well, a single of those lightning turrets. Lightning turrets quite good single target damage. Despite their sort of chain lightning effect, they're actually really good single target damage. The beamer, good at single target damage, but in a completely opposite way. I would say those turrets are essentially polar opposites of each other, but both pretty good. And certainly going to do nicely against this T1, especially the aggravators here. The beamer turret does outrange the rocket bots by just a little bit, but it does matter, and it is well worth investing in them. Static defense about to go down over here on the left-hand side from El Barto, who is getting jumped on by a whole bunch of medium tanks. We have a couple of bombers up in the mix here as well. Looks like they're going to head on over to the right-hand side and try and help out the blue commander pushing forward right here. And those Wolverines are sitting still. It's a perfect bombing run. Lining up for the shot. Stormbringer's excellent for saturating an area, and bomber, well, not fire per se, bomber bombs. Bombing fire? I don't know. A hail of bombs, that's what I'll say. Little medium tank run by over here as well. Orchestrating chaos, one of the trickiest things to do in bar, but if you can manage to pull it off, it can oftentimes set your enemy on a terribly back foot. Commander goes down on the left. El Barto loses the commander. It is worth noting at this point, by the way, that losing commanders is a lot more valuable when you have less of them, right? I mean, the blue team has lost 2 commanders so far, but that does cut their commander count, rather, down by a 4th. 2, 4, 6. No, sorry, by a 3rd. Math is hard. Don't ask me to math. I refuse. Missile trucks, man, not as powerful as they once were. We used to see missile trucks just about every game. They were pretty much the most omnipotent being across the Beyond All Reason universe. The fact was they were just so strong for such a little cost that they really didn't have any drawbacks. At this point, they're still strong, and especially in big numbers, they can definitely do a lot of work, but they're sort of a damage over time element. They're kind of like a siege unit. You really want to keep them firing, but you don't want them to fall under fire ever. I mean, ideally, that's every unit here, right? Nice riot tank, by the way. Shuts down a whole bunch of that. Shuts down the momentum more than anything else and allows those rocket trucks to escape. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, the rocket trucks can certainly be nice anti-air, so that's always good. You have a little bit of dual purpose in your mixture there. But whenever I think about a composition, I think it always has to include a couple of medium tanks, at least for the sturdiness of them, if not maybe a riot tank or a Janus or 2. One of Barcast's 2 commanders taking some heavy fire over here. Janus is firing away at it, as well as a whole bunch of shell jockers, medium tanks, just about everything else in the playbook, trying desperately to shoot that lime green commander down. If we can push this back, it'll be phenomenal. We do have reinforcements coming in on this side in order to push this back. We have a little fight going on the right-hand side as well. A Twilight was built but has been shot down, incidentally EMPing the friendly units upon which we're guarding that Twilight. A little bit awkward about building those towers, yeah. The Twilights can oftentimes accidentally EMP your own forces. It's one of those things that I've wondered about for a long time, is whether EMP should have whether Armada should have an EMP mine. So it just detonates and does a big EMP burst. I thought it was a novel idea, but maybe it would be incredibly overpowered. There'd need to be some way to counteract it, but I guess that's what the Juno is for. Juno is the T1, technically, rocket launcher. It fires a missile out onto the map. It clears mines, it clears radars, and it clears jammers. It just destroys them instantly. I only bring that up because every once in a while I do get a question about what I'm talking about when I say that, you know, they can fire a missile into an area of mines to clear it out here, or fire a Juno into those to clear it out, and people think I'm misspeaking about the Janus. It's a, you'll have to check. I believe it's under the C menu. I can probably show you somewhere along the lines here. I'm sure there's a constructor. Here we are. There you go. You see under utility, Q, the Juno. Anti-radar jammer, minefield, scout spam weapon. Oh yeah, it kills ticks and rovers, rascals, all the scouts instantaneously. Very good. Very good. I gotta say, Barcast's doing a great job of spending the metal. We still have a little bit left in the tank right here. I wonder if we should go for T2 right now. A lot of that metal's being used left, right, and center here. We're kind of putting forces all over the place, but it is good to see that at the very least we're using the metal that we have from all this economy. A lot harder than you'd think. Sometimes spending the metal is the hardest part of having the metal. We do now have T2 rolling out, though. Yeah, a lot of T2 I expect to be pumped out right here from this lab. Critical metal shortages. I'd love to see Barcast maybe donate some of that metal over to the Cyan commander, the blue commander, just to start pumping out some of those really efficient T2 units, while the lime green commander doesn't actually have any of those units in reserve, right? Meanwhile, coordinating a massive tank push over here on the left-hand side. They are starting to ball up, which is a little bit inconvenient. It is drawing so much attention away, though. Shuriken pouncing on top of all this. This is an excellent draw for those Shuriken. Yeah, they get on top of these medium tanks and absolutely surround them. Oh, no. This is an atrocious loss right here for the lime green commander. Losing all those tanks right there definitely burns, and especially losing them against the Shurikens that you just know that you're not going to get an efficient trade. Yeah, that really starts to hurt. Fighters are pulled, but already those Shurikens have made out like bandits, and the creep is cleared. Nothing left here in the middle of the map for the cyan green commander, sorry, the lime green commander, Barcast. Going to have to instead rely on the commander here as a source of keeping the peace. Well, I'd say that. There's a lot more medium tanks to replace this. I'm not used to the scale of a single commander having so much economy, but it is effective because it certainly means the Barcast has enough metal to be wasted and then still produce a fabulous army across the map right here. Maybe a little confusing to the blue team, feeling like they've eliminated an army from one player and then another one pops right back up, as if nothing ever happened. It's an inadvertent teamwork is what it is, and teamwork, as I've said before, one of the most powerful things beyond all reason. Big old Fiend Wave, but it's crashing against another Fiend Wave. Just about exactly the situation you're hoping for. Riot Tank here, also useful. Stunning those units that march forward, especially the lighter units. Knocks them off their feet a little bit and slows them down. Makes it much easier for your other units to get involved in firing away at them. The reclaim is great, but man, Akumu as well as Mabudi a Beauty, both sitting a little far forward here. Can't help but wonder if these commanders are a little close to the front line for that T2 that's imminently going to be rolling out to the front lines. There we go. We do see a T2 lab coming up right here for Barcast. We've already had the T2 gantry up and running right here for the Cyan Green Commander. Sorry, Cyan Blue Commander. I guess that's just Cyan. I think in terms of Minecraft colors, if the color doesn't exist in a Minecraft pigment, it just doesn't exist in my brain. Persecutor coming up on the high ground right there for Narnak. Love to see that. This high ground is really, really nice for building static defense because it's very difficult for anything to attack aside from, for instance, those rocket trucks firing up and over the hillsides. Aside from those, and specifically those, really difficult for anything else to fire away at those, so it is really nice to put a bunch of Persecutors or, for in this instance, Scorpions. Any sort of static defense, really. More Shurikens coming across over here. We do have T1 anti-air firing away at this point, and thank goodness for it. Those Shuriken had a field day blasting a bunch of this apart, but I think eventually those Shuriken were shooed away by those T1 anti-air. So tricky, and this map is so ginormous, the purple player is definitely having a hard time keeping T1 air in all the spots at the same time here. Often what I'll do to mitigate that is just split up these air forces. It means you don't really have the air forces to respond to a massive bomber wave, but it does mean that you can stop those Shuriken pushes, and sometimes those Shuriken pushes can be even more devastating than the bomber pushes. Not to mention, converging on a bomber push is definitely quite effective. Turret over here, Dragon's Claw turret, does get blasted down here. Are there any more Dragon's Claws? Nope, that was the last one, which does mean this army of Sheldon should certainly be marching forward right now. Would like a little bit more aggression out of the Cyan Commander. If we march those Sheldon forward, there we go. Yeah, we're gonna start trading them out against other units over here. Starting to build spy cameras over here. Cheeky, cheeky. No pun intended. Yeah, these medium tanks, man, they're feeling the sting of those Persecutors. Persecutors are extremely powerful, and the T2 economy is all the way up and running right here for the Red Commander. You can see all those T2 mexes up and running, absolutely devastating. Going to be so much metal going back to the red team right now, specifically the red player, pulling in a whopping 110 metal per second. Wonder what Barcast is up to at this point. 87, call it 90 metal per second right here. So a good 20 metal lead for the red player just for having all those T2 metal extractors. So many battles going on all across the world. all over the place. We do have this Persecutor that came up over here. So annoying. Going to be forcing back so much of the blue force right now. We also have these Quakers, which are extremely, extremely dangerous. Oh, they're manually firing, though. The Quakers are dumb firing, which means they weren't firing at this big composition of forces over here. It's a little bit of a bummer because they definitely could have done a little bit more. Spybot in the mixture right here, by the way, in order to, yeah, try and do as much damage. Oh, Spybot connects with all of those all those Quaker right there. Really, really nicely done. Does take those down and allow the Fiends to jump forward. Jumping on top of a whole lot of this. Man, the Banisher missiles, though. The Banishers did a whole lot to redeem this situation right here. At the end of the day, the Fiends will eventually be cleaned up, leaving only a couple of Sheldon and some of these Trashers, the amphibious anti-air bots. End all be all, I don't think that was exactly the push that the blue player was hoping for. Oh, yeah, so many of those res bots just go down. Those Banishers, man, they can get some extreme value out. Heavy tanks now rolling out of the lab, though, for the lime green commander, and they're going to be jumping on top of these medium tanks with a hellish fury. Tigers. What a unit. Banisher out as well. I would love to see some Mass Banisher. Mass Banisher might be one of the most satisfying compositions. Losing medium tanks for free over here, definitely not advised. Arbiters even connecting with medium tanks. You know it's tragic when the Arbiters are able to connect with a unit. Mauser firing away, though. Mauser are a harrowing unit to go up against. Once they start hitting the fields, you know you're in trouble if they hit that critical mass. I'd say we're just about there right now. We have 7 of them. I think around, well, actually 8 of them. I think probably around 10 or so. You really start to hit that number where you just can't push into them because they kill anything too fast, aside from maybe some T3 units and some of the heaviest of the T2 units. It can be very, very tricky to figure out where that line is drawn and whether you have enough forces to actually push in here. Heavy tanks just hanging out. Not ideal. At least we have Resbots coming up to reclaim from a whole bunch of this metal over here. Definitely expensive, though. Mammoth headed up to the front line. The Mammoth says to me that the blue player is not interested in losing any ground right here. Mammoth essentially designed as the mobile barrier. It stands in front, it takes all the hits, and it shrugs them off as if they were nothing. We also have the Resbots, which are great because they lend a whole lot of sustain to that otherwise extremely bulky unit. Yeah, I love the Mammoth over here. I think that's really, really nice. We have another one coming up as well. Mammoths are so expensive to field, but they really do lend a lot to one of these compositions. Spybot headed out now. It discovers a camera. The camera discovers it too. It's funny how the Spybots end up being really good at creep clearing. I keep saying creep clearing. They're really good at clearing those hidden invisible units. Maybe it's a bad practice, but I've started revealing to those as creeps. Weirdos, even. Peeping Toms. Big old bombing run over here. Connects with a bunch of the Sheldon. Obviously not going to do much against those Mammoths, though. A radar bot going down right there suddenly revealed all of this area over here. That's why you can see that Persecutor now firing away. Heavy tanks trying to break the line. We've got blockade runners. Well, there they go. They managed to take down one of the bulls. These two are on perfect opposite sides, means they're going to get an excellent flanking damage. You can see that bull taking extremely huge amounts of damage all of a sudden. Good to see. Spybot connects with the static defense over here. Medium tanks rushing forward, but those Sheldon are shelling away at those poor, poor tanks. Those land boats trying to move forward right now, but no way they're going to be able to. Yeah, Bull is there to defend as well as those Sheldon, and all of this suddenly gets shut down right here. For what it's worth, they did shut down the Scorpion turret, which is quite nice here. But aside from that, I don't think they really managed to achieve all too much. I feel like as Cortex bot player, you are essentially aiming for that Sheldon snowball. I feel like that's definitely the easiest game ender to get to. At the very least, lane ender to get to. You want that Sheldon snowball where they can just start blasting down essentially anything. It just comes down to numbers, right? It just comes down to who produces more Sheldons and keeps them alive on the front lines. Obviously, shutting down that snowball early, very, very useful. I think the blue team could stand to be a little more aggressive on the left-hand side. I like that we're including the Arbiters at least, so if these stand still, they will get obliterated. Moving in a straight line, also likely to get them obliterated. There's a couple conditions that get you obliterated. Tremor's so annoying to deal with over here. You can see it firing away into the distance right now. Nice spybot connection. Huge spybot connection. Paralyzes it right as the missiles connect with it. That was a really nice connection right there. They managed to blast down that Tremor. That's a really good, or that's a really important move because those Tremors can definitely lay down some hurt. You definitely have to address them before they become a real problem. Mammoths eventually shut down, or at least one of the Mammoths was eventually shut down. The second one is up and coming here, but the bombers are headed directly towards the forward T2 facility. One of those issues with building those forward T2 labs, they're extremely vulnerable to early onset bombing runs. Pretty tough. It's 6v6 and there are 3 people fighting me. Extremely true. Luckily, it does look like the purple player is ready to get involved here on the front lines. Better late than never, I suppose, but certainly not feeling great right now for the blue commander. Just as a single mammoth to his name. A single mammoth, very low on health. Grunts running into the main facility here. Mauser doing more friendly fire than anything else. And down goes the laboratory over on the right-hand side. Left-hand side not looking too fabulous either. Yeah, we do suddenly have a really, really tremendous amount of forces built up over there. That Sheldon Snowball is looking unstoppable. We also have a nuclear launcher up and running here. Not quite charged from Reed Sweep, but it is coming up and on its way. Excellent anti-nuke protection, though, so I will say the blue team, rather, is looking quite well protected. The blue base, a little bit... Oh, no, sorry, there is an anti-nuke here. Somewhere. I see the ring. There it is. Yeah, anti-nuke up on the cell side. Alright, so at least everybody's covered by anti-nuke, which is always nice to see. Shiva waddling their way out to the front line here. Barcast using the phenomenal economy that at this point has been extremely instrumental in helping the team out here to pump out some of those T3 units. We're going for Karganeths as well as Shiva. I'm always a big fan of the Karganeth. Definitely losing faith in the Shiva as of recently. I feel like we've been watching the Shiva more and more lately just kind of fall out of favor. Yeah, just feels like it can't keep up anymore. Maybe it's everybody getting better. Maybe it's just a little bit of subtle power creep. But either way, the Shiva definitely doesn't feel like it's the powerhouse that I once imagined it was. Shiva have actually been handed over here. That's quite nice. Yeah, we're going to hand the Shiva over and send him to the Cyan player so he can actually use him to defend himself. Very nice play right there. An underrated play, if I will say so myself. Definitely one of those things that we don't see nearly as often as we should. Hemorrhoid in position. Yeah, trying to get some of those killer D-guns. Yeah, 2,000 metal right down the drain right there. Hot Big Commander trying to micro against it. You really don't want to lose those bulls to D-guns. Even if they go down, it's better than losing them to D-guns, because at the very least there's a chance you might reclaim that metal. Although I suppose that's only if you have a chance of reclaiming that metal. Wouldn't particularly say maybe if they were in the enemy's backline. Demon doing the very most to burn these tanks to the ground, though. Very nicely done. Those demons extremely powerful. At this point, Lost Deadman has been handed over a Karganeth as well as a demon. Hopefully both of those can make some sort of an impact. These Shiva have completely cleared out this left-hand side. Beautiful plays right there. That Shiva shot didn't kill that Twitcher in one hit. Just brutal. Just brutal. At this point, for the Cyan Commander, the name of the game is going to be Resbots. You gotta keep those Shiva marching, and you gotta keep rezzing the ones that go down. Definitely important to make sure you don't overstep your boundaries, though. If you lose all the Shiva at one point, they can become quite detrimental. And here we are, Karganeth. Now getting engaged on the front line. Congratulations are in order. Gonna be blasting away at a whole bunch of these fiends here. Scorpion turret, doing the very most. Keeping everybody off of the back of the blue team here. And the blue player definitely stabilizing from the brink of destruction. Very, very nice to see. Suddenly the Spybot detonation over on the left-hand side opens up this line for the demons, or sorry, for the Shiva to continue pushing through. That's one way to make the Shiva shine. Use those Spybots to turn off power to everything over here. We are losing the Shiva, though. Slowly but surely we're losing them. One of the Persecutors still firing away over here. Scorpion turret's about to start popping up again. There we go. Eventually they do go down. That one is completely bugged. Firing away, but still in its shell right there. That's not what's supposed to happen. The dragons are out. Dragon's definitely an effective counter here, especially in mass. The demon has a little anti-air backpack. Not quite powerful enough to shoot down dragons, I'm afraid. Dragons thwarted here by the T2 air. Are we T2 air? We are T2 air, yeah. T2 air going to be enough to shoot down those dragons. Definitely makes it quite uncomfortable to keep those in enemy airspace when they're being obliterated. We need to rebuild over on this side. We do have Twitchers. Twitchers can build those metal extractors, so it's always well worth it too. Demons retreating from the front line here. I think we should go repair those up as much as possible. We do have resbots. Really nicely done. Yeah, I think the resbots are the play here. You just keep pushing with the demons until they fall over, and the Karganeth and all the other T3, and then you resurrect them using the cover of your other T3 units. I think it's a great strategy. I think it could work quite nicely here for, at the very least, the blue commander over here on the right-hand side, going up against a T2 composition. Pop-up Scorpion turret, blasting away at a whole bunch of the area over here. Interesting. Look at the demon go, blasting apart all of these units, these poor units. Nice Spybot connection. One weakness of the demons, it's absolutely EMP-able. It can be shut down by those EMP blasts. Turned to a shambling husk of its former self. Spybot making its way towards. Oh, and it does get another juicy connection over there. The Spybots, man, they're devastating. They're one of the great comeback mechanics in this game. Build a couple Spybots and hope that you can connect them. Is the nuke charged yet? It is charged. Not fired yet. We've got 2 of them in the chamber now, so I wonder if we're gonna start using them or not. Demon trying to move through over here. Demon's relatively fragile for the T3 era, so these Starlights are having a field day blasting it to smithereens. Down it goes, face first into the dirt. And those are some expensive T3 units to lose on the front right there. Not a big fan of the way that that went down. Glad to see, though, that we are grabbing these T2 metal extractors once more. Could definitely stand for a little bit more greed as far as the economy goes. We have a T3 lab that just finished up right here for the purple commander Flocka. If you're going to greed like this, I think it's definitely best to eat up these fusion reactors. Make sure that you're absolutely using that metal in any way that's useful at all. Even if it's using the fusion reactors to make the fusion reactors. Doesn't matter that these resbots went down, or sorry, that the T3 went down over here, though. Well, that's awkward. These were reclaiming, and these were resurrecting, meaning that effectively all the money was being funneled here to Hemorrhoid. Hemorrhoid ended up with a sudden surge of the bank account variety. Catapult on the front line, going to be quite dangerous to deal with. I'm glad to see the catapults. I think mass catapults is a extremely powerful composition, because you only need the catapult, and then you need T1 and T2 support. You don't need anything else on top of that. Another big Spybot connection over here. This time we have the grunts to defend those lonesome T3, though. Yeah, I think that T3 at the end of the day is going to be A-okay. The unit support was on top here. On point, rather. Are we going to fire the nuke? The question on everybody's mind, where will you place the nuke? Frankly speaking, there's not a great target at this point. Technically, you can put it in the backline over here. There's this very, very shallow section where a little bit of economy is being built right here by El Barto. Don't think that'd be the ideal place for it, though. Where did that catapult go? Oh, there it is, right in front of my face. Using the catapults to launch yourself into an advantage is definitely one effective strategy. One catapult on its own, pretty great. Definitely good for applying a little bit of pressure, kind of tactically picking targets and then sentencing them to glass. However, 2, 3, or 4 catapults can absolutely devastate an area on the map. So it's one of those things that gets rapidly better as you start to create more and more of them. Your first catapult is great. Your second catapult is absolutely phenomenal. And your third catapult, fourth catapult, after that it just starts to compound even further. For that reason, I'd like to see a couple more of them built. Obviously, the only catapult production right here is from Barcast TV, so it's up to the whims of the Lime Green Commander whether that'll actually happen. An ambitious project over here, might I add. We have quite a few aphises coming up in the backline, as well as a whole bunch of energy converters. We'll see if that gets done with six construction towers. I'm a little skeptical, I won't lie. Oh, anti-air flak trucks. Anti-air flak trucks. One of the benefits of the anti-air flak truck being that you can concentrate them Beautifully done. Yeah, the nukes drop right, or the bombs drop on top of the anti-nuke right here. You can see Lost Dead Man thinking about it. He says, OMG, flak OP. Yeah, they have nuke. That's an excellent read right there. Yeah, the blue commander reading into that perfectly. Realizing, hey, wait a second, if they're targeting down my anti-nuke, probably the best reason for why they're targeting my anti-nuke would be because they have a nuke charged and ready to fire, and they're trying to open up an opportunity for it. Love that we start up an anti-nuke in base right here, just to make sure that even if this one gets targeted, because obviously this one's location has been compromised, at the very least there's going to be an opportunity to shoot the nuke out of the air here once more in the future. That's some really stellar map awareness right there. Akumu has set up quite a minefield. And by minefield, I guess I mean a wall field. A lot of D1 static walls. Not sure exactly what those are meant to achieve, but I guess it looks kind of cool. And it definitely makes the pink presence on that map look just phenomenal. Bulwark over here taking heavy fire from this catapult. This is exactly what the catapult was designed for. Bursting down single targets in one big volley. Just a little bit inaccurate is the only problem with the poor, unfortunate catapult. There we go. Blasting away everything that it can. Demon over here, quite hurt because it's just been sitting here taking blasts from this bulwark. Not sure what the purpose of that is. You can't afford to sit within your enemy's artillery range. Definitely we need to pull the trigger or back off. Sitting here and losing units for free is not ideal. Persecutors on the high and medium ground, both firing away right now. And I mean, effectively achieving nothing, these lightning tanks have been reduced significantly in number, and the few remaining ones have very little health. I appreciate the starlights right here. I think they're a great option. They're a great choice for blasting through these defenses. Definitely would expect a couple of pinpointers though if you're going to go so heavily into the starlight production. We do have vanguards walking across, by the way. Finally, the purple economy is kicked into gear, and we're going to start mass fabbing a bunch of those T3 units. More and more demons coming out right here. I think Gore-Tex players are extremely grateful for receiving the demon. And why shouldn't they? It is a powerhouse in and of itself. Sort of fills a role that I feel like definitely was missing for the Gore-Tex players. Somewhere between the Marauder and the Titan sits the demon. It's quite a powerful spot, definitely. Has a lot of HP. Not relative to T3, but relative to basically everything else. Has a lot of HP. Has a crazy high damage potential. And then also has tons and tons of mobility. It lost its amphibious trait when it transitioned out of testing into default gameplay. A little bit of a bummer there, but I guess it was just one too many things stacked on top of the plate. Massive nuke connects with the front line right there. All the resbots go away, as well as tons of health on those demons right there. Just showing you exactly how paper thin those demons actually are. Losing so much HP from just a single nuke. Most T3 units wouldn't even flinch. And losing a lot of health over time right here from this Persecutor, who is now ranking up quite wildly, by the way. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to start firing away at T3 and you have effectively unfettered reign to fire away at all those T3, you're going to level up pretty quick. Experience calculations, as far as I have deducted, are essentially determined by how much damage you did to how valuable of a thing. But now the red team is ready to seal the deal. Calamity comes up and online right here for the red commander. Building in the back line. Spied that out of the corner of my eye, but I was wondering if we were going to be able to do anything about it. The blue team did not sniff out that Calamity in time. So just in the nick of time. It does start firing away over here into the blue base. Going to prioritize down the APHIS over here. Pop it goes. Taking out the build power constructors and just about everything else under blue control. Just as the nuke connects with the forward units. Just devastating them. All those demons go down just as well as the base right here on the middle of the map for Barkhouse TV. I guess his primary base? His base number one. Well, I guess it was technically the base he inherited. Either way, base starts to go down, and just like that, the Calamity is enough to persuade the blue team that it's time to get out of this game. Love the focus from the red team, keeping it cool, keeping the economy under grasps, making sure that they're spending their metal and having a game plan to close this one out. Definitely an awesome match here. Glad to see a Calamity coming up. I feel like we don't get to see those Calamities all too often, especially in these high-level games. Just goes to show what that extra economy boosting in the early game can get you. a very, very loud cannon, that's to say the very least. Sure hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, feel free to like or subscribe if you enjoyed, and if you like daily Beyond All Reason commentaries. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next match of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.